Just to know you're here to stay. I walk with faith, not with fear. Every step I know you're near. Through the doubt, through the rain, you're the calm inside the flame. Even when the night is long, your light leads me on. So I walk.
Welcome everyone to the Walk with Faith podcast with Molly Faith, Michael Kopp, my dear wonderful friend who came to visit me today, and Puppy Moon is joining us.
Yeah,
How are you doing, Michael?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I know we're sitting here, we have questions, and we're going to go over a couple of them, but we've kind of just been hanging out. We had some lunch, which was so nice of you to bring. Thank you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I mean, you treated last time, so it was my turn.
Thank you. So, can you update people on what you've been doing recently?
Ooh, how far back do you want to go?
It has been a while. I don't know, most recent, I suppose.
So I got back. I spent a week in Florida doing a full disclosure now conference where I got to MC, listen to a lot of talks, and still processing, so I still don't remember all of the presentations that I heard, but they're all still downloading, so to speak. So as they come out, I'll remember them and be able to share what I can about them. But I do have on my podcast shows a few episodes of the guests coming on, and so they'll be able to share too, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun connecting, and
You went to
one of the
Florida?
things that we commented on that we all thought was really cool is you go to conferences and you meet these people that you see online or you watch on other people's shows and they have this persona and you're hoping that's the persona they have in real life.
Yeah.
And with this community, it actually was to where everyone that was nice was nice. It's who they really are. It's their authentic selves. And
That's so cool.
so it was really cool to meet them. And then Saturday and Sunday, we got to hang out on the beach, even though the hotel was on the beach. But this time we got to spend the whole day in the Gulf of, was it Mexico or America now?
You're asking the wrong person.
I think it's Gulf of America now. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of all the changes that are going on in this world, but it was a lot of fun bobbing in the in the water and just kind of realizing you have reached the point of the conference and the week of there is no agenda, there is no plan. You just are there in the moment. And so
That's nice.
that was nice to connect with. And we had a dolphin hanging out
Really?
on Saturday with us.
A real dolphin.
Real dolphin.
Like hanging out with you in the water?
Like he would be further out than we were, but they were out there jumping around and we would stay closer to the shore.
Were they nice?
They were.
Okay. They didn't try and attack you.
Dolphins don't attack.
That's for another time. Not attack.
Dolphins will actually keep the sharks at bay.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. They can be overly loving.
Oh,
To
playful,
humans.
yeah. So
Yeah. So they were nice. They didn't.
they were there. They kept their distance and
Okay.
played, but we actually had. I was doing two interviews, so to speak, kind of episodes with a couple of friends of mine, and they were channeling, and so I was just observing and asking questions. And one of the deals we had, a friend of mine did her first channeling publicly, so to speak, and she brought in the dolphin spirits.
Oh, wow.
And
That's beautiful.
it was they needed our help with something, and so we helped them out. But the question I had for them was, I don't know if your audience is aware of, but the Hawaiians have this beautiful story of how dolphins came to be. And well, I'll share the story because it's short but a really nice story. And so the people were on an island and they were needing to vacate the island for some reason. And so the gods took pleasure, joy in them and were like, hey, we'll help you out. So they created a rainbow to where they walked across the rainbow to get to the next island where they were going to live and thrive. Well, kids being kids, they're running around playing, still that way today. But they were running around so much that they actually fell off of the rainbow. Well, before you start thinking, how is this a fun story? Because that's tragic. It wasn't tragic in the sense that the gods saw the children's playful energy and said, we love that energy about you. So we're going to make you able to live in the water. And that's where the dolphins came
Wow.
from. And so when I asked the dolphin spirit ambassador who was talking to us, with the energy, I said, are you aware of this story? And I told them the story, and they said, yes, we like that story. And that is a fairly accurate story. So
That's
they,
well, of course they are. So in one of the many traditions that I've learned over this journey on Earth School, what we would call it in one of them is a sacred pataki, which is a sacred story. Pataki. That's so cool.
is, and it was kind of cool that they knew it too. And were able to confirm it. So it's like, we talk about, all these cultures on our planets having different stories, and we just say, oh, yeah, that's a nice story, but this one actually transcends.
Wow. Michael, as you're talking about that, something just popped into my mind. And I know we were talking about it earlier because we were talking about Puppy Moon, and you were talking about the Sirius star system. Um, can you educate people on that star system or the Sirian star seeds, or do you have any knowledge on that could help people, or on any star seeds for people who are just learning? I don't know why this is popping into my mind, but I got to take it.
So I don't have my key with me, so I'll try to recall what I can. But so Andromeda Galaxy has the Andromedan race that operates out of that area of space. There's the Lyrans from Lyra, and Syrians are from Sirius, I believe B. And there are a few races, I forget their distinguished name, but Syrians, there's actually three stars. There's Sirius A, B, and C. And for those of you who are not familiar with star names, if you've heard of the dog star, they're talking about the Sirius stars. So that's where the dog people come from. And yes, there are star beings that look like dogs. There are feline
Mm-hmm.
races where our lions or cats walk around on two legs and pretty much look like humans, except for having the face of a cat.
Look at Bastet too.
Let's see, there's the avians who they're the more rare, they're almost extinct from the wars with the Draco reptilians.
And is that going on now?
That was going on probably. So their time and our time is different. For them, It could be like 1,000 years ago, but on our time, it's like billions of years ago.
Wow.
And so it's our history is somewhat contorted because the history that we're taught in books and schools,
I agree.
I'm going to put a disclaimer out right now. If you have any kids that are in school right now, plug their ears to this for a moment. But being a history major, I can attest to this that the history taught in school is not the history that we should be taught in school. And
Just let it out, Michael. I know you're kind of.
the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, there's a reason all of their gods look the way they do because that's what they really did look like. The gods where you see half fish, half man, that is a very real race. That's a star being race. So the gods that everybody looks to and says, oh, yeah, those are the ancient gods that are no longer here. Newsflash, they never left. They're still here. They've been fighting a spiritual war, which we are somewhat caught in the middle of, and on both sides we get used, but I'll save that part for another day. But the the pharaohs being elongated skulls, that's very real. There was an ET race that has that feature. And the reason the gods can do what they were doing is yes, they were actually from another planet and were here to help us and try to guide us on our way in some areas, and in other areas, I hate to say this, but we were their slaves. We were genetically created to work for them. So there are certain minerals or essences that they need from this planet. So we were engineered to mine, gather, and ship it off to them. So we work for free to help our gods. And there was revolutions where we thought we were free, but then we found out we weren't free, that we actually just were told we were free, but we then found out through contracts and everything that the game is still being played and we're still enslaved. And so we are now in the time that we're in where they talk about the Great Awakening or the Enlightenment Age or however they're talking about it. There's so many nomenclatures out there right now. It's talking about us taking back our soul sovereignty. And this is something that can be done, but it has to be done with energy and power. And by energy and power, I don't mean going up and storming a building and forcing them to do anything. It just is you just owning your space and who you are and not allowing yourself to be used anymore. And so
That's right.
that is not easy, and we never said it was easy. And I always think to myself of the adages when we were growing up, being told, like, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. Well, things are as easy as we make them or as hard as we make them. And so everybody is in their own place, their own growth, their own choices. And so you can choose to stay in the slavery system. You can choose to be free of it. You can choose to work in it and try and work a deal. You are at choice for however you want it to look.
Right.
And the one thing I will caution people about is if I was to say I was free of the system and it just took me one thought to change it, don't hang your hat on that because that's what works for me. And for example, Molly may try it and she's like, it didn't work. So you're full of hogwash because if it only took you one thought, it should only take me one thought. Well, everybody's different.
Correct.
So don't judge your growth and your
That's right.
freedom based on somebody else's path. You have to choose your own.
Correct. I agree with that because we all have our own path to walk. Um, and so it may be that's why I think it's really good to have many different things in your spiritual toolbox that you can try energetically and what aligns for you, because what's for you may be different for me. And that's okay. I think that's good to tell people. That's why we're all on different timelines on our journey. But I mean, if you were going to give, so you're saying with you for one thought, um, can you give an example for people who are not really clear of what being enslaved is? Like break it down a little bit and then also freeing yourself from that. And we talk about taking back our soul sovereignty, right? So if we could just break it up a little bit for people.
So enslaved looks like everything you doing in life is struggle. You're in constant fear of something. Everything, around you, you are like either in fear of or you lack self-confidence. You're basically dwelling in the what I call the low vibrational energies of yourself. You don't think highly of yourself, you isolate yourself, you have little worth to yourself, and you're like feel like your life is just working for somebody else. That's actually true on so many
I was
levels.
just gonna say, wow.
And so that's the enslavement that they teach us and force upon us. And by they, I mean the powers that be, society, everything, religions, everything on our world is designed to create a script that plays out in a certain way over and over and over. And if you check out and decide, I don't want to do this, and you leave on your own account, you're born right back into it. They have a system for that. And
What do you mean check out? Say it nicely, because I think I know what you're talking about.
so if you take your life, so to
There you
speak,
go. I knew what you
and you think, okay, I'm going to be free, be born into a new life, I don't have to deal with this. Guess again, because the forces that are putting this system in play, I was talking with someone and we were talking about reincarnation, and they go and pointed out we are supposed to learn, grow, move on.
Right.
We don't do that. We learn, grow, learn, grow. We keep repeating. And what happens is in the reincarnation cycle, they have a vessel, so to speak, at the gate to the next dimension or the next place where you could go. And you are actually intercepted, gathered, reborn. So you get to do it all over
Thank
again.
you. I'm good.
And people don't realize this is happening. So reincarnation, when we talk about being born over and over here on this planet, is actually a constructed trap designed to keep us here enslaved. Now, how you break free of this is through one, becoming aware of its existence, and two is start to live your life for what you want. And if you say you're in your 50s and you're like, I have done all this work, I have done everything everyone's ever asked. Now I just want to do this. Go and do it. You don't have to work. You don't have to wait until you're in your 60s to retire. You can retire when you want. It just depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to maintain. Because if you like your lifestyle the way it is, you got to maintain the income to balance that.
Right.
So you can't sit there and go, oh, I love being able to travel and go do all of this, and I want to be free of the system, so I'm quitting my job and quitting this.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
And then go, okay, I'm out of money, I can't travel anymore, but you said when I'm free, I can do what I want. Well, you still have to have
Something.
means to
Right.
balance the equation.
It's all about
So
balance.
what that looks like is, yes, you can quit your job, but you may find, for example, if you were, let's say, a car insurance adjuster for an insurance company, and you're like, I'm done with this. You retire. Well, you may be really good at photography, and so you start selling pictures
Right.
that you take, and and maybe you start working for a magazine or
An art gallery.
online place that sells, photography from people, and you're really good at it because of your other job. Well, you have in turn, you're still making money to do all the stuff you want to do and probably get contracts to travel to photography or
Right.
photograph,
Yeah.
all the
But
stuff.
you're right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it balances out, but you're not enslaved doing work you don't want to do. So that's the difference is you're going to switch from doing what you have to do for someone else to doing what you want to do.
That you actually love. And still get to travel.
Right. Well, you still get to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to travel or if you want to sit at home and do nothing,
Are you leaving?
that is totally fine.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of the freeing yourself is you're getting back your sovereign rights of being who you are, doing what you want to do, and also your sovereign ability of just to be. So that looks like whatever you feel called that it looks like. Nobody can determine that for you. And that's the part where I think a lot of people proclaim their sovereignty and proclaim their freedom, but they don't know what the freedom looks like. So they get trapped because they're relying on somebody else to tell them this is what your freedom looks like. So this is what you're going to do now. Doesn't work that way. Your true freedom comes from you deciding what you want to do, where your passion lies, and following that passion without fear. That's the part that the people that are enslaving, they thrive and feast off of fear, the energy of that.
They do.
And so, an analogy of explaining the impact of that is I look at the Revolutionary War, where America is 13 colonies, population roughly around, I'm guessing, maybe we'll say 30,000 people because we're new. There's not a lot, we don't have metropolises, they're just small village towns around and no mass transportation. So you have rural, you have small towns, villages. So we're not a very populous area yet. And then you look at Britain, who has colonies around the world, population that's probably close to, say, 100,000 to probably 800,000. So they have men to send. So they can send armies of thousands of people overseas to fight, where we have hundreds to a few thousand people to send because we don't have the numbers that they have. So this is where what happens in this war impacts on a universal scale. We had less than 1% of all the populations fighting for a cause known as freedom from tyranny, and we toppled the empire. And yes, we got help from France, but France was not backing America until we proved we could do it. And when we won the Battle of Saratoga and Cowpens, that's when the French started sending soldiers because we proved we were not just a voice with emptiness behind it, that we were a force, that we really wanted this, and that the people were behind it because neighbors were turning neighbors in because there were still many loyal to the king. And it was literally a time to where to be called a patriot and to fight in the Continental Army, you put your family at risk, you put your livelihood at risk, your home at risk, you put everything at risk because all of it could have been seized and taken away. And they all knew if we lost this war, they were going to be hung or they would be in prison, eventually hung. So death was the only outcome. So the soldiers all knew it was fight or die. That was literally their existence. And when you see the movies about the Revolutionary War where the redcoats always talk about the American forces as a rabble, that's really what we were. We were farmers. We were lawyers. We were, shopkeepers. We had no military. We had nobody trained in army. Our officers that were leading us were people that were trained through the British Army. So we literally created an army out of nothing and a navy out of nothing. And that's what showed the world that America was here to stay, is when we said We are going to be free and we are putting our lives on the line, and we can organize and we can make a difference and win. And yeah, less than 1% toppled an empire and turned the world upside down because Britain was no longer invincible. Countries started picking fights with Britain because they saw, if America, who was a rabble of farmers, can beat this empire, we can take on this empire. So the world scales literally changed in an instant. And that's the power that they want us to forget. That's why the history of the Revolutionary War is getting rewritten. They're wanting statues of the revolutionaries taken down, and they're wanting to erase all of this because they realized that people understood the power that they held over the system would topple.
Right.
And so that's their biggest fear. And that's what's happening as we're waking up and taking our sovereignty back and declaring ourselves free is we are taking away their food source. We are weakening them and they don't like it. So that's why the world is in the controversy and tribulations that it's in, is because both are trying to upend the other one and see who's coming out on top. And I have to say, from everything I've witnessed and everything I've talked to some people about, is as bad as it's looking, the low vibrational entities that are feeding on us are nearly extinct. They are losing, and they've crossed the point of no return. So they're like in the corner, which, if you know your military history, you never put an army in a corner because that's when they're their worst, because they're fighting for pure survival. Well, that's where these people are. And so what they don't realize is the world has changed to where they can lash out at us, but we're not lashing back. We're standing and we're just looking and saying, you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And they have no power over us, so we don't need to fight. We can just sit there and in a voice just say,
No.
yeah, you have no power
No.
over me. You're done. And that's it.
That's right. I love what you just said, because we're not operating in fear, we're operating in power, in peace, and taking it back. And just by not even entertaining it and not being fearful of them, even if they are in that corner and want to come at us, we're not doing that.
Yeah. And to piggyback on you were asking about the star races, is you have to realize, like, you'll hear people say the Andromedans are our friends. They're here to help us. Oh, the Pleiadians, they're here to hurt us, or they're here to help us. And you sit there and you think, well, one's lying. Well, no. Actually, what ends up happening is the star beings are not in a dualistic system. They are who they are. And star beings don't have emotions like we have. They're more of a kind of, well, I wasn't wanting to do this, but I have to.
I get what you're saying.
So if you're into Star Trek, they're the Vulcans. Star races are really like the Vulcans, where they have no emotions, they're pure logic. They operate under, what is this going to gain for us? How is this going to hurt us? And so each system has their own factions. Like, The reptilians, the Draco reptilians, Dracos, they're it's rare to find any good ones of those. I'm not saying they're not out there, they're just rare. Most of them would love to feast on you and keep you in fear for all eternity. Reptilians, they're 50-50. Palladians, 50-50. Every culture has
50-50.
a light side
And a
and
shadow.
and a shadow. And the shadow is not an evil thing. We're told
Thank
if
you.
someone's operating in the shadow, that's dark energy, that's evil. No, what it is it's the place where we don't want to look. So when you hear of people doing shadow work to help themselves grow, it's they're shining lights on themselves in places they don't want to look. So when you have patterns in your life that are repeating, and no matter how many different ways you work at it, it still repeats with the same outcome. That's shadow work. You need to look at what is driving the pattern. You find that out, and it's no longer shadow. That pattern rewrites itself, and you can move on. And I have personally had experience of doing shadow work to where within less than a minute, I knew the change had already made because I totally forgot what I was even working on. And
You shifted that quickly.
then when the situation arose, I made a different choice and the outcome was totally different. And
Right.
it was someone pointed it out to me, and I looked back and I was like, yeah, usually that would upset me. Now I just walked away from it. That was growth. Well, that's the shadow work. Now, shadow work, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, oh, couple of sessions here, there with somebody or doing introspect and everything's peachy keen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Because it's not, it's continuous. I feel, well, I mean, it depends on who, I mean, it could be different for everyone, but I feel like it's an ongoing journey. But
It is, and I view it as the analogy I always grew up with in metaphysics is you look at it as an onion.
Mhm.
And onions you can peel layer. There's so many layers to the onion to where you get down to the seed. Well, that seed is what they call the core, which is where that pattern originates from. So as you're doing shadow work, yes, you're shrinking it, shrinking it, shrinking it, and at times you may actually get to that core faster than you anticipate. But these patterns are very smart. They're almost like artificial intelligence. They know when their number is up. So you may have a pattern of, let's say, work, you get stressed out and you don't earn a lot because you don't value yourself. And as you're working at it, you're getting promoted, you're getting more money, less hours. But then all of a suddenly you're gonna have, say, a car accident, and you're like, oh man, all this money I saved up from work is now gone. And now I'm back in the pattern of don't have the money, having to work to pay for this and that. Well, that core value just reappeared under another onion, but it's the same base pattern. That's how they survive is they can jump and appear in another situation and you don't see it. You just see, oh, I have an accident, got to get a new car. Now or I had to pay for these repairs. My insurance is going to go up. And so you start getting brought down by all these other images
Right.
when it's this. And so that's where shadow work, you have to keep working at it, is because they can appear anywhere. They have tangents. So you can eliminate a core issue, but they got little tentacles and tangents out there, and they'll come back with ferocity if you lower your guard. So keep that in mind as you're doing the work, or if you're feeling like you're making no progress, is you actually are. The fact that you're seeing you're not making any progress is progress in itself. And I know that sounds so weird to
Makes
hear, but
sense.
it's very true because you have awareness
Exactly.
that you didn't have before.
It's awareness. Exactly. Exactly. Um, okay, so I want to go back to bring yourself not operating in fear. Um, and also the shadow. The shadow is not a bad thing. We don't fear the shadow. The shadow is part of who we are. Every species has dualities, light and shadow. So, and for us, it's not to fear our shadow, right? It's to love all of us and to learn to expose the shadow to the light, learn from it. Because feeding off fear, if there's other energies that can feed off the fear, and if we fear our own shadow, then right there we go back into a prison.
Right. So when you're standing in your power, you are standing in the power of knowing in that moment you can go dark, you can go light, you can go peace, you can go down fighting, you can go either way. But how it's different is, so say in a moment you're like, I'm cornered, I have no choice but to lash out to get free of this situation. So you lash out. Instead of beating yourself up that you lashed out, just go, okay, I lashed out. I know I'm free now of that situation. I'm in a calm space. I'm at choice to go to, if you lashed out at a person, and say to that person, hey, look, you had me feeling like I was cornered. I apologize that I lashed out. I had a lot of other things going on, and you just were that point of no backing down and just blew the lid off. So I apologize. That is one choice you can do. Another choice is you can go, well, that person's never going to talk to me again because of this. So I just lost a friend over this, and that's a choice. Both are acceptable choices, but any choice we make, and this is the important thing of growth, is every choice is a fluid, in motion emotion. And the reason I say it that way is it can always change.
Mm-hmm.
The choice is not in concrete. Our futures are not written on a stone tablet somewhere where someone's checking off everything we're doing and saying, yep, that person's on track. They're doing exactly what they need to do. We're good there. We can leave them alone. Let's focus on this person. Doesn't exist. Everything we do, every moment, choices are made, choices are changed. One way to look at it is we are a pivot point of a compass, and the compass can spin around wherever it wants to point to, and it may point north, in which case you go north. Well, you may take two steps and be like, you know what? I'm not feeling north anymore. Well, you can turn and go west or east, or you can turn around and go south. Or you can even do as the Navy and the sailors used to do. You can go northwest or northwest. There's everybody has these multitude of directions that you can go. And you can find yourself walking around in a circle, which is totally fine. As long as you don't sit there and go in a circle for your entire lifetime, in which case I would challenge you to say, maybe make a choice that gets you out of the circle and maybe go off somewhere else and experience something else. But that's again your choice. So if you're having fun living in this little circle, stay there.
And our purpose is to evolve and grow, right? And create some of our purposes. So if we're staying in a hamster wheel and not growing and just round and round and round and round, like you're saying, I challenge you to make a decision to move forward, take another step that'll shift things a bit.
So that's true. And the awareness that goes with that, I find from my own experiences, everybody gets caught up in the bliss and synopsis where you're doing something that's making you happy. Everything in your life is flowing well. You have everybody is getting along. Life is in essence perfect. You got job is great. You're getting promoted, you're making more money, you're enjoying it, you're working less hours, you have your family, you have your car's doing well, you're able to travel if you want to travel, your family's getting along, your friends, you have time for them, you got time for everything. So you're in this circle and you're thinking everything's great. Well, the illusion is, yeah, everything is great, but there is something missing. And you just don't realize it because you're under the blissful thing of, yeah, I have nothing to work on. I have no
Exactly.
patterns to break because life is, I did it. I've come through it. I've made it to the golden promised land, so to speak. Well, what that does is while you're in this circle, the powers that be that, we were saying feed it on your dark are also feeding on the fact that you have given up because you're no longer growing, you're no longer standing in your power. You have, in essence, laid down and said, okay, I don't have to do anything anymore. Life is great.
Mm-hmm.
And you've surrendered. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong, that's not a wrong choice. If that's where you want to be for the time being, believe me, I have friends who would gladly take on that problem for you of having all of that and not dealing with all the stuff that we've dealt with. But we also know, though, there is a time where you have to break in and go, there's still something more. And that's the thing that kind of dualistically is something we've been taught is a bad thing, is wanting more, that it's selfish. And the reason I say it's a dual thing is Molly and I were talking about this in another form before we got started of putting ourselves first. or healing ourselves from being selfish. And I was reminded her, and I was reminded that when the first doctors appeared on this planet, their first rule was heal thyself, and then it was do no harm to others, and then it was take care of those around you. Use your gift to help people. Well, somewhere along the lines in history, society made us believe in taking care of ourselves first was selfish, and that we needed to take care of others first. So you will see healers and mediums and energy workers who are draining themselves and getting sick or just being drained and going, I can't do it anymore. I just can't. Well, the reason is because they're not taking care of themselves. They have put everybody else first. And the ironic thing is, I had just recently taken a flight to Florida, and I kind of was like, I had to do a double take and listen when they were talking about what happens when the oxygen masks fall.
I was just thinking this.
They actually tell you to put
Put
yours on
first.
first and then your kids and everybody around you.
That's right.
Well, isn't that selfish to put your mask on first before helping somebody else with theirs? Apparently not, because that's the standard for flying, is you put yourself first to help others. Why is it okay on an airplane, but not in real life or other aspects of your life?
Exactly. True.
But at the same time, though, we are not saying to do everything for yourself and, take advantage of others by helping yourself. No, that's not what we're saying. Taking care of yourself means if you need to eat breakfast in the morning, you schedule appointments after breakfast. If you need an hour lunch and a break, schedule your appointments accordingly. Give yourself an hour to eat and to take a break. Eat dinner, or go maybe eat dinner and watch a movie. That's a 3 hour window, given what type of movie you're watching. Well, those 3 hours plus so that's 5 hours, so to speak, maybe out of a day of 24 hours. I don't think, in my personal opinion, the world or your clients are going to collapse and die because you took 5 hours to recharge yourself and to do what you needed to do for yourself. In fact, I think you'll end up with more clients because they'll see you taking care of yourself and go, well, if that person's taking care of themselves, then yeah, they're definitely going to take care of me. And so that's my opinion on that is
I agree with you completely.
clients, they'll see you draining and they'll be like, well, if you're this great healer, how come you can't heal yourself?
Mhm.
So keep that in mind when if you're an energy worker or doing anything of those type modalities, is take care of yourself and balance yourself with everything.
Absolutely. That is so important. Self-care. I say that to you. I say that to all my close friends. I'm like, I'm taking some me time for myself. I do, and I'm very honest about it
No, I
because I
know.
know, yeah, because I know how important it is.
And admittedly, there are times that you will tell me what's going on, and I'm like, did you take time for yourself? And you'll be like, I will after this. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I know what that means. And it's going to be probably the next day, but you're a choice to do it your way. I can't interfere. It's like,
Did you saw that post that I did
yeah,
yesterday? I love that. That's my me time a lot of the time. My prayer, my meditation, my bath. I will sit there. That's like self-care, self-love, like big time. And I love it.
see,
It's
and that's the important thing to note too is we all have great intentions of helping each other. And if, like, you were to say to me, oh, yeah, I'm doing prayer time, I had clients and this, in my mind, I'm sitting there going, work, work, work.
prayer is not work.
And so,
Not for me. I love
yeah,
it.
so,
For maybe for
but
you,
that's what
Michael.
I'm meaning is my mind may see it as
Yeah.
work, 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 and I'm like, where's the me time?
I
Where you're
know.
looking at it going, work, work, 2 hours of me time, but we don't know each other's me
Me
time.
time. Everyone has their different me time.
So that's where we have to be cautious of overstepping and saying, why aren't you taking me time?
I'm like, wait.
And judging what people are doing because
Right.
what one person does to relax may seem like work to somebody else or seem like
Right.
that's not really, relaxing,
Mhm.
even though it is in a way. But so that's where I caution when people call themselves experts or say that this is the way to do something
It could be different for everyone.
because that's what worked for them doesn't mean it works for somebody else.
Exactly. I love that so much. It is so important just to have a wide range to see what works for you. Like what you said, like when I go, and you've been in there, when I go in my altar room to pray, like I have my pillow, my mat, I had my blankie, and I'm sitting there and I create or I rest or I pray or I meditate, and it's so fulfilling for me. But I love what you said for you. You're like, wait, Molly, where's your rest? Where's your me time? I'm like, no, Michael, that is. It's like so rejuvenating for me. And I'm listening to music that I love or, taking time but you're right, it could be different for everybody. It's just what really works for them, I feel like, on a soul level and in their heart space, like what really makes you feel good and recharges you.
I don't know if it was on this show or another show, but we even dove into yeah, shouldn't have had that water. It's messing with my voice.
The water.
But
Now I'm joking.
we dove into meditation, like, because everybody that sits there and goes, I can't sit down and just do nothing for an hour and meditate. And we're like, nobody told you you had to. But when you go, but then we realize when you go and look at all these people who are the quote meditation experts, they're all sitting there just palms up and just like,
You don't have to do that.
this is it. And it's like,
You don't have to do that.
we were talking about it, and I said, I like to be in the kitchen, and when I'm cooking, I don't follow recipes, and I just get in the zone, and the food comes out, and they're like, "That's your meditation."
Exactly. It is.
And or being on a show for me is like a meditation because I'm listening, reacting, but I'm just sitting there focused in the moment of what's going on around me. And so that's another trap we need to watch out for is how we define terms because relaxation, self care, meditation, all of those
Different for everyone.
are all personal to the individual.
Absolutely.
And yes, you can find a group that you have fun with and you all do the same thing and that's meditative to you. Great. We're not telling you have to do it alone. You can do it in a group. You can do it online. You can do it in
Just
person.
whatever works for you.
You can do it. There's multitude of ways. It's not defined that way, so we don't think of it that way. And it kind of takes me back to I always laugh when people will tell me they've never had a paranormal experience. So
Yes.
paranormal is something that's unexplained. That's how I view it and define it. So my viewpoint is different from others, and that's okay. But I will say to somebody, have you ever walked in a room and smelled a flower when there's no flowers around? And they go, yeah. I'm like, that's a paranormal experience. Or have you ever felt someone's presence being around that's not there? That's a paranormal experience.
Right.
Or everyone's favorite, I just was thinking about this person and they called me on the phone out of the blue. That's a paranormal experience. So the paranormal doesn't mean it's isolated to dealing with spirits or portals or different um, beings out there, I'll call them, or being at a location. It is anytime you've ever had an experience you cannot explain, that's a paranormal experience, and it doesn't make it less important. It just means you have to find people around you that you can talk to about this that experience it as well. Because I can tell you from lifetime of experience, you go up to somebody and you say, man, I smelt a flower that doesn't exist in this region. That's one of my ancestors or grandparents loved having around. They're going to think you're nuts because you're smelling something that's not there, that doesn't happen. And so, yeah, you can end up being mocked or teased for experiences. And on the flip side is you may be surprised to learn someone saying, I had a similar experience. Maybe my experience is like yours. Maybe there is something to this. So you grow a connection.
Absolutely.
But don't discount because someone tells you it's not. Don't discount it because your experience is your experience. And the only person that can tell you if it's real or not is you.
That's right. I've had those experiences. I have them a lot. You're all laughing. Of course I did.
No, it's like, oh, hey, preaching to the choir on that
I
one.
know, exactly. I have those experiences quite often. So not weird for me. Definitely a part of that tribe. Um, I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, let's see. Kind of jokingly, she had a list of questions for me, so
We're
I'll
doing this
just
very
kind of
casual, guys.
looking to see which questions I've already answered. Didn't didn't think we would get to a lot of these, but I think we have actually.
No.
Ooh, let's do this one.
Okay, what is it?
10. What's
I'm the host and I'm asking him what the question is. Do you guys like that?
Yeah, my hosting skills come out sometimes. But what's something you no longer tolerate now that you know your value? That is actually something that's really kind of a touchy subject because if something's miscommunicated, it can lead to one outcome, to where if you know the intention and the intention is there, it leads to another one. But I would say one thing that I don't tolerate is when people come up to me and look at me and judge my life based on what they see in front of them and say, this is what you need to do to fix this. I can help you fix this, this, and this. And I kind of get step back and I kind of get the viewpoint of who are you to tell me what is right and wrong in my body and my life when you have just walked up to me and didn't even really say hello and who you are. You just laid out this like almost like insulting
Did this happen to you?
agenda. It actually happened to me twice. And I know it wasn't intended to be an insult, but it kind of it could have been because I'm so used to it now, but it's something that's always has happened to me is people see me, they form a judgment based on what they see, and they don't bother to ask me about it. And so I no longer really get insulted by it, but I don't engage in the conversation. So the fact of how I don't tolerate it is I will back out of the conversation and just politely walk away and won't even engage or hear what options you had to talk to me about because I'm like, the fact that you just didn't even bother to talk to me or get to know me at any level
Right.
makes me feel like I'm just a number on a sheet of a tally that you're trying to get. And maybe that's not what it is, but that's how it comes across. So I would say to any of you who are out there who are trying to help people is don't just say, hi, I'm so and so. Let me help you with this. Actually talk, get to know people, see if they even have an issue because one of the people I was talking to, I was trying to figure out why I was not feeling so well because I wasn't thinking about all the different things that had gone on. I was focused on one particular topic and he threw at me another topic and I was like, no, that topic doesn't fit. And his heart was in the right place and he even worded it in the heart place and everything. And I was like, well, I just had blood work done before I went to the conference and there was, my blood work came back perfect. And they were like, well, then you don't have to worry about that. But still, we appreciate you, you're taking care of yourself. And it's like, yeah. And so be careful of the judgments that you put on people without, as the indigenous would say, without walking through their shoes. Because you may have assumptions that are so far from reality. And one of the things is a lot of people look at me and I'm used to it and they go, well, there's an overweight person. Well, actuality is I'm not. But what people don't realize is if you look at my legs, if I go to get a BMI test done, they can't even pinch my legs. There's not enough fat to grab on my leg. There's not enough fat to grab on my arms or my upper chest. It's all in one spot. So, in essence, where a normal, I guess you could say, person's body is the fat is diversified. Mine is collected in one spot. So I give the appearance of being overweight. I'm actually not. I am the right weight for my height. It just doesn't look it at first glance. But if you get to talking to me and learn, yeah, I have really strong muscular legs, muscular arms, and a broad chest that's, muscular, even though I don't show muscles, they're very tightly in there. Then you would be like, well, he's doing right.
I think it's all perception.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna look different for everybody too. Like, yeah, it's perception. So, I just saw something on a girl was talking and she actually used her nose as the example. And she like pointed it out and it was a larger nose. And she's like, everyone says that my nose is extra large and it's not normal and it's this. And she goes, I'm going to use this as an example. This is my nose from my ancestors and it's perfect for me and my body because society or judgment or because other people like what they're perceiving isn't ideal or standard, that does not mean that it's a giant nose. It's perfect for me. So everyone has their own perception. I thought it was really beautiful because we shouldn't be placing judgment. Everyone has something about them that is going to be unique. Our uniqueness is, and our authenticity and vulnerability are what makes us so beautiful.
Yeah, and what that reminds me of is I was talking with some friends about religion, and yeah, you know me, I don't delve in this topic very often, but when I do, I have fun with it. And what we were discussing was, you know, how, there's one God, and I was like, there can't be one God. And they looked at me and they were like, how can you say that? I'm like, well, does the book not say, and by book I mean the Bible, we are all created in God's image? And they go, yeah. I'm like, well, you have a black man over here, a red man over here, an Asian man here. We all have these different looks, male, female. Well, if we're all the image of one God, how does that God have all these different views? How can we be? There has to be more than one. And it has to be male and female. And they were looking at me and they're like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, so you're telling me when I look at in the mirror and I see God, and then I look in the mirror and I see a female next to me, I'm still seeing the same God. And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, that doesn't work because we're two different people. We're two different identities. So therefore, the children of God that we are, that's how we're the image of God, is we're the children. We're all equal. And they're like, oh no, no. Some of the children are higher up than I was like, yeah, I'm leaving this conversation.
Yeah, I understand where you're getting with this, and I think it's actually really awesome. What I got from that, so I'm non-judgmental with anybody's beliefs, religion, spiritual beliefs, nothing. As long as we're not intentionally like attacking each other and hurting people, right?
Right.
So I believe we all come from the same source, creator, right? We are all children of God. But what I really liked what you said was when you looked over here, you saw God. When you looked over there, you saw God. What hit me in my heart space, and all I got from that pretty much was, wow, that is huge because you're seeing the divinity and the God and the equality in every single person. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Mhm.
So, no, everyone has placing judgment on people's different belief systems, and because people are at different periods of awakening or enlightenment, I feel like. So they may still have this belief system and they chose that path to walk on earth for that period of time until they were able to wake up. Now, if we scream it at people and yell it at people and you're wrong and wake up, we're not supposed to do that. If you plant the seeds, you let people it will bloom, it will blossom, they will wake up in their own time. But I feel like what you saw was the inclusion, the all in everyone and the divinity of source in everybody, rather than, don't believe that or it's this way, it's that way. That's what creates division. When really we need to be coming together.
Right.
I
And
know because we're different in that too. I don't care. You're my friend.
well, and the difference though is for me, when I bring up these topics and point them out, I'm not coming from a place of trying to prove right or wrong. I'm coming from the place of open your mind. Think something more than what you were taught as a kid and just blindly accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the goal. And so I'm not saying, there's one God or many gods. It's up to the individual. I'm just pointing out to make you think about
To
something
dive deeper.
that you have believed your whole life and going, are you believing because you believe, or are you believing because it's what you were told to believe?
Because it was programmed.
Right.
You want me to say it for you?
Yeah, you did. It
I
was
know,
programmed
because
in.
it was programmed.
And so that's part of the awakening is to, when you're getting your freedom is to know that you are free to think
Freely.
what you want and it's not programmed in. And, by all means, if you can break the matrix, break it. It needs to be broken. And
Or all healers are witches. It's like, or all women should not stand in their power and speak their authentic truth and be good girls all the time. It's like all of this programming. There's been programming in
so
so many ways.
the Witches is an interesting program in itself because so witches were natural healers. They used nature to heal. They were in tune with the land. That is a really beautiful thing that we had lost because of mainstream religion coming in and saying that goes against our belief of having an outside source having to do this. So we have in turn given up our divinity, our thinking, and our connection to our world. And there is an adage that in the 1700s, 1800s, and before, of if you were ever sick, the remedy was within 100 feet of where you were. They knew it. They knew what to go get. They knew how to heal, how to use the land,
And use their
and
intuition.
we don't anymore. And well, some of us do. I will admit that. But when it came down to the witchery aspect of it is, as we pointed out earlier with the star beings, there are the same thing with the witches. There are some witches who really should be with a B instead of a W because they have malintent and that's what's driving them.
With the W? Wait,
With a B instead of a W.
Oh. Well, that went over my head. Well, what?
Because of their malintent and they're wanting to put someone down or, make themselves bigger by putting someone else down. And so that's what I define as
Oh, yeah.
that type of witch.
He's not
And then
coming
you
with a
have
straight face.
Well, because I'm like, I'm laughing over the fact that it went over your head. I was
It
like,
did.
and I was trying to be so polite and just not even
Sure.
focus on it. And then
I'm
you
just very
like brought it
gentle.
full circle.
I'm all, what? What's that? Say it again.
And then and then you have the people who were like they call the white witch or the gray witch who help people and shared their knowledge and they were persecuted equal to the nasty people, and that was wrong. And that is, I hate, I can only put it in this way, and I know it sounds horrible, but it's true, is it showed the ignorance of humanity that we would judge everything based on one. And we still do it today, is
That's
you
true.
hear in our rhetoric of this person did this, so therefore all of these people have
Are
to
bad.
pay the price
Yep,
because of
right.
this. And
And that's so
a
true. Yeah.
prime example that people don't want to hear is, World War II. Big trauma all around everybody, but it goes to show how the person who wins, and I'll put that in quotes for another time, is the one who writes the story. Well, the story is the Axis powers were doing genocide on people, locking people up that never should have been locked up, and were tormenting people. Well, since US, quote, won the war, you don't hear much about how the German Americans were put into camps because they were born in Germany and had German heritage. Japanese Americans were rounded up and put in camps because of their heritage. They never did anything to warrant being locked up. Their only crime was being of that culture
What is that?
or
Oh.
distinction.
Oh, nothing. Scary.
And we all sit there and say Germany was evil because they put these people in these camps and did all these crimes to
But
them.
not all Germans. I have German heritage too.
Yeah,
I have Russian. Yeah, we have many.
but I mean, and it kind of, I just want to point out the programming of we don't look at our own crimes and mistreatment of people because we can put the blame on somebody else and say theirs was worse. And that's not really okay to do because crime is crime. And the other thing that comes of that, though, is people's views of justice. So this is historically is something that energetically is something that is so misused and so misconstrued and has kind of whittled down even the energy of it. And what I mean by that is, and I know there's a lot of people don't like hearing this, but it's a truth that unfortunately exists. And reparations for crimes are done unto the people the crimes were committed against. So if I claiming German heritage, I can't go up to the American government and say, you interned German people in camps, so you owe me reparations for that because you harmed us. I was not harmed. My family was not harmed by that. So therefore, I am due nothing. There is no justice about it. Do I get to be upset that my people that I have ancestry with were mistreated? Yes, but that's where it ends. And I can't take any action or energy beyond that because then I'm taking on karma that's not mine. Whereas when you see people and you hear them say, oh, these people were wiped out in this attack, and these are my people, and we need to be paid for this. You are not done anything to. You are belittling their sacrifice and the energy they gave in that event. In actuality, you are claiming something that's not yours.
So that is karma.
So you're taking on the karma of that event. You're actually taking on both sides,
Yeah,
not
I get
just
that.
one.
I get that.
And it doesn't have to be a tax. It can be, the quote, mistreatment of people here in America where they were working on plantations. We had indentured servants, slaves, and other types of, criminals working on farms. Do generations later get paid for those people? No, because it wasn't done to you.
That's really interesting. You're speaking of this because I just saw something on someone talking about their ancestors. There was a lot of crime done to, you just mentioned Germans, the Holocaust, you mentioned Japanese. I mean, it's happened to women, it's happened to it's happened. It's
Everybody.
happened to everyone. It has happened to everyone at some point. But today, now where we are in our energy, trying to break free from that karmic cycle, it's about doing that inner work, freeing ourselves, not taking on the karma of that. But I just saw somebody literally go back that far back and was trying to bring it up again. Which what you're saying is so brilliant because it's like now you're taking on that karma. And creating division and hatred as well instead of unity.
Well, and what's interesting too is when you look at, and I said I was going to go political, and this is as political as I'm going to
Please
get.
do, because I don't do politics now.
And so when we look at the political race, when we get the presidency, they're vying for who's who. One person will say, I'm getting more of these votes, and they call out a specific what's the word for it? I can't think of the word, but we'll say culture for the time being.
Okay.
The purpose of this is demographic. That's it, demographic.
Okay.
So they're like, I have more in this demographic than this person has done in years, and this party is done. But then this party turns around and says, well, these people want to enslave you. Well, right then and there, what people should be going and saying is this party is trying to split us up and divide us and live in a world of we're slaves and feeding the fear. We should be afraid of these people. Where the other party is just saying, look, they're enjoying, supporting me and they're enjoying the growth that's coming and they're getting more benefits. I'm not saying one party is better than the other because that's a whole nother topic of there really isn't two parties. But for this point is you have one demographic that's uplifting the person that they're talking about and one that's putting them down.
And instilling fear.
And it's amazing how the people that are putting down this demographic are now in a position of saying, I don't understand why they're now no longer liking the fact that we're putting them down and we're making their lives worse by trying to hide it and make it look like it's better. And so that's where it's, part of what's going on now that it's so important of looking at the whole picture is we can't look at and going, I'm gonna vote this way because my parents did and their parents did and
It's the right way.
generation, and I can't vote this way because I can't say I hate this person because he did this, this, and this, because truth be told, we don't know. There are media and our information sources are so convoluted now, and that's the best word I can use, because we are now living in a world where unless we see an event happen in front of our faces, we cannot believe any account of that situation because we don't, because everybody's got an agenda or a bias or a deal they're working to prove something. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know where a situation's going. So our only objective now is to sit and watch and observe and to put your energy behind what resonates to you. And notice I said resonate and not belief, because you can believe somebody is doing something for the right and they're not, but they know how to use verbiage and imagery to make you believe they are.
Just feel like
But they can't take, and an example of this is if a car company is developing a car that's going to better mankind, and you look at it, and we'll say hypothetically, for the point of this conversation, it's a hydrogen cell car. Well, resonating with me is hydrogen is not a stable, good source of energy. So I will not back that car dealership and I will not purchase that car. Now, I'm not going to go and protest and make them do away with that car because somebody else may think, hey, this is a great step towards getting free of gasoline-based cars. And so more power to them. And if they can take a hydrogen car and make it work and safe, great. Then I can maybe resonate with it and go with it. But if I don't believe it's safe, I'm not going to back it. And my resonance is something that cannot be faltered or programmed to react a certain way. Just like when you were growing up, and you had certain people that you would hang out with, even though people would tell you not to, you would feel like they were a good person until they did something to you. So you trusted your resonance. That is what needs to happen now is trusting
if guidance at that inner
what cannot be corrupted.
right.
Thank you, Michael, for all of that. I love
Yeah.
this. Yeah. So I think that we're gonna have to do another one. I don't even know how long we've been recording.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to leave with everyone before we say see you next time?
Well, I could say, um, let's see, leave people with. Well, seeing as I don't know when next time will be, is I'll just put out my agenda for the rest of the year. Is I have introduced on one of my shows a new once a month mini gemstone reading. So if you ever get an opportunity, they're free. You just come on to the Writing Through the Unknown. It's right now, it's the first Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time. And we get to as many as we can. And we can't guarantee everybody will get one. And let's see, I have a book that I am finishing the final editing to, and then I just need to put a cover on it. And actually, I probably need to write the back cover slip and figure out what and a dedication page. So I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the year. And the funny thing about me is I never do anything in order. So this was actually intended to be book two out of four books that I'm working on. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to release it as book two of four as it was intended, or change up the system and make it book one, but then it'll make what's supposed to be book one awkward, but yeah, we'll see. So just so you guys know, what I'm talking about is I wrote a book last year and then stepped away from it and broke it into four parts. So book one was supposed to be my generic story. Book two was my paranormal journey. Book three is my metaphysical journey. And book four was my esoteric or hidden journey of finding out who I am. And so I have written the paranormal book, and that's the one I'm editing now. And so that's why I say it would be awkward because it comes out before the basic me that's supposed to be
Yeah.
the brain job. So we'll see how that works. And that's the one. Ironically, that's the book I had the least written on, is the first book. The other books, I pretty much just need to take a bunch of experiences, do my little fine editing of taking one experience into another experience and make it fluid flow. Because how I originally wrote was just experience, experience, experience.
I think that's gonna be so cool when you release those. It's gonna be very helpful to people.
Yeah. And not to toot my own horn of being
Toot
a
your horn.
first time writer, but my friend that did the editing of the paranormal book wrote me and was like, wow, this is going to help so many people.
Awesome.
And this is such an amazing story. Your experiences are so incredible, and how you shared them and, explained them. And so I'm hoping, they're not just, I know they're not, but in the back of my head, it's like, yeah, it's an editor fluffing for praise, but
No, I'm
oh,
sure they're gonna be great. You have a lot of really great
she's a dear
experiences.
friend, and I know she wouldn't mislead me, and especially since she's having her name put in the dedication. I'm like, I'm excited and excited
Yeah.
to see what the cover will come of, because everybody that knows me knows my artistic skills go so far, and
Mm.
covers is not one of them. So yeah, we'll see what comes of that and how we're gonna title it. And
That's exciting.
so I have that going on, and I am in the works of, well, now I have 5 shows that I'm a part of or host, and there is a 6th show in the works.
Oh my gosh, Michael, what
I'm
do you
not
sleep?
sure. I know, right? It does seem that way, but yeah, it's well, 2 of them I do all the work on, so that's normal for me. And 2 of the shows I have other team members that, or the host of that show does all the work. I just show up, so that's makes it easier and contribute ideas, but as to what the show will be about. But
So what days can people, where and what days can people find your shows?
so Tuesdays, oh yes, and I shared with Molly, season 4 is coming in January. I am going to go and keep going with the shows. I gave myself to the end of this season to determine if I would or not keep going. I gave myself 3 years, and I decided last weekend to meet with my cousin to formalize what season 4 is going to look like. So, yes, we are going to continue for at least another season doing the shows. So, Tuesday nights will still be the energy that surrounds us. And normally it's at 9 o'clock Central Time, but kind of gotten to where I'm more open, so shows could be at 7 or 8 o'clock. It'll definitely be in the evening hours, Tuesday nights. And then Wednesday nights is Running Through the Unknown. That's my esoteric journey show series disclosure. Oh yeah, Tuesday nights is Paranormal Unexplained. Probably should have clarified that. But yeah, and Wednesday nights it'll be every week, and it'll be probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night usually. And the first Wednesday of every month through 2025, my friend Gina Virginia Casella does gemstone readings, which I am hosting through Writing Through the Unknown. So it'll be Wednesday mornings, 11 o'clock, and they're strictly 1 hour. So we get as many gemstone readings done as we can in 1 hour. And the first time we did it, we got 4 done. So that may be how many we get in. So it's recommended to be on time and to be alert in the chat room, because that's who gets the readings, is chat room, and you have to be somewhat active, so you can't pop in, drop something and then disappear. You actually have to participate a little bit, because she'll ask for validation on if something makes sense. So it's appreciated that you stick around for your bit if you can. And let's see, then Thursdays, we're hoping to be bringing back the Paranormal Verses, which is paranormal conspiracy theory type show. And my friend's been on vacation, and so I think she's back now, so we may be starting up again. And Thursday evenings, this is how I get away with doing
Yeah.
so many as they're contained in a day. So Thursday evenings, my friend Emily Men's house is wanting to bring back the B system, which if you watch the political scene and things don't make sense, you should check out the B system because we poke at what doesn't make sense either on that show. And
Well, that's
we
cool.
kind of have fun doing it too. And we do it in a respectful, fun way. I mean, we don't try to just make a point and hammer the point in. We free
Right.
think back and forth about it, different views and opinions. And then yeah, so that's the 5 shows that I can clear to talk about.
Awesome. But you're pretty, oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, the 6th show, that is one I am working on that is going to be a totally separate child unto itself, so to speak. So if you can imagine having these 5 swimming somewhat together in theme, this one is going to be totally
Oh, that's so cool.
on its own.
Okay.
And
Can't wait.
we're trying to work out, one is how frequent we're going to do it, and 2, how frequently in a month are we going to do it? Are we going to do it once a month, twice a month, weekly? And for how long are we going to do it? And we actually too had to look and see. We haven't even done a dry run to see if our personalities actually work to have it work.
I'm excited.
I'm sure it will, but yeah,
And this is you and another co-host.
yep.
Okay.
And it'll be me in a role that nobody will ever see coming.
Oh my gosh.
And
That's
yeah.
very neat. Very
I
neat.
was about to plug something else, but then I was like, I don't know when this is coming out, so if I plug it, it won't make sense. It
That's exciting though. It's very exciting. I'm happy for you, Michael.
is.
So
Oh, and talk to Molly about having me on as much as you want me on. I enjoy these.
I know we have a good time. I love doing the podcast. I love everybody that comes on, and I love the fact that you're in Texas. You're close. Well, not like super close, but close enough.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining me and
And-
Michael.
Recommend this show, and I do recommend it to other people. I even talked to lifeguards at the pool about being on this show and
Really?
told them to check it out.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And I recommend your shows too. They're really cool. So check out Michael's shows. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We're sending you so much love, and I'm gonna say it. And we pray that you're always surrounded by the Most High God's love, protection, and beautiful blessings. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I walk with faith. You've never failed, not once before. Why would you now, my Lord? So I lay it all in open hands and follow where you stand. You're the breath inside my chest. I'll trust you with the rest. I walk with faith, not with fear. Every step